Hello, and welcome to Group 5's presentation on regression testing. In this presentation, we will discuss what regression testing is, how it is done, some potential benefits and drawbacks, and the effectiveness of regression testing. So what is regression testing? Regression testing is a tool used to retest code that was not changed during an update. The purpose of the testing is to verify that the new code generated during the update does not negatively impact existing functionality. It is also used to ensure the software still meets all specification requirements. For many software development organizations, regression testing uses equal parts manual and automated tests. There are three basic steps to regression testing. First, the existing test cases are examined and placed into one of three categories. Obsolete test cases are those that are no longer applicable because of the changes made in the update. Reusable tests are those that test only those parts of the code that will not be impacted by the update. Finally, retestable test cases are the ones that test the parts of the existing code that may be impacted by the update. This final group of test cases is used as a pool from which to select a group of tests that will cover the entirety of the existing software architecture. This group of tests comprises the regression tests that are then used in conjunction with additional test cases developed to exercise the new code to test the updated software as a whole. As an example, imagine we are working on a simple calculator program that currently only performs addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Our update will add an exponent function to the software. In this case, we may not have any obsolete tests because no functionality is being changed, only added. The reusable tests are those that test only the current computation functions. These do not need to be rerun because they will give the same results achieved when the tests were originally run. The retestable cases are the ones that interface the new code with the old code, such as a function that displays the result of any calculation. The new code could have unforeseen impacts on this function, even though no changes were made to it.
So moving on, we're going to talk about the benefits or advantages of regression testing. The few notable ones that we can mention is the fact that it reduces the cost of analysis. This is done as engineers reuse testing suites that they already have. It is also able to identify errors, like functional errors that are likely to be missed when applying traditional code level testing. By enjoying this, the bugs that are in the program are detected earlier by the firm because anytime there's a change in the software, it's gone through and the bugs would be detected earlier, which would save them more money in the future if they were to find the bug in the future. This in turn has an effect on the quality of the software that is going to come out at the end of the process. So an advantage is that it is able to produce a high quality software. Regression testing ensures system stability while enhancing the application continuously. By executing the same steps repeatedly, it would allow the team with a shorter development cycle, which in the end would produce a high quality software. We should also note that testing takes a considerable amount of effort and time to cover an entire software. So by applying regression testing, you are able to execute the test on just the selected scenarios, which would ensure that functionalities work smoothly and there's nothing wrong. And if there are anything you want to change, like inputs or devices, you can change them on every run of the software.
As discussed previously, there are some benefits of regression testing. However, some of the downsides include lengthy testing. For example, a regression test is required even when a very small change in the code base is performed. And even though constantly running this test continuously for every single change has a positive outcome, this delays the whole testing process and the software development overall. There's also an immediate time and cost-consuming process. Regression testing involves completely running all the already passed tests, which can be cost-consuming due to the software developers use for this, and also due to all the automation that requires in case that there's an automation tool, which leads me to the third downside. In order to be effective or efficient with regression testing, there needs to be an automation tool, and these tools are meant to create records of each test performed in order to have a traceability back on how the test was conducted and what was the outcome. And the third or final downside is automation. When employed in regression testing, it could provide a false sense of quality because software developers might decide and might code which error they're looking for, and by automating this process, the script can oversee or pass some of the defects that might be actually encountered by the final user. So having automation tools can have a positive impact, but if these automation tools don't consider most of the cases, it is likely that they will miss some of the important quality measures.
When to use regression testing. In a broad sense, regression testing should be completed whenever changes have been made to a software product. This is to ensure that untouched or existing software has not been adversely affected by any changes that have been introduced. This helps developers identify any defects that may have occurred as a result of the changes. It also helps to ensure that untouched software still functions as intended. This reduces the risk of having to roll back changes. Also, this ensures that nothing has been affected or destroyed that should not have been. We will take a more in-depth look at recommendations for using regression testing. Typically, it is recommended to complete regression testing at the end of a development phase or before a software release. Often, these tests are completed more than once during this process. You wouldn't want to release an update and later find out that a part of the software that was previously working is now causing problems. Regression testing can be performed after a number of changes, such as the release of a new software version, when a fix for a defect is implemented, or if a solution has been changed. In addition, regression testing can be performed to ensure compatibility of existing software when new interfaces, hardware, or platforms are introduced. The frequency by which regression testing is completed is at the discretion of the development team, typically. However, this can be influenced by certain factors such as assessed risk of the changes being made, the amount of new functionality being added, the number of fixes introduced, and the amount of resources available to the development team.